Hey guys, what's going on? It's Meshi with Path to Wellness with Meshi. Thank you so much for joining me for another video. I'm so glad you're here. So in today's video, we're going to be chatting about what you can expect with this full moon that we entered into today, July 16, 2019, as we enter into the full moon in Capricorn. We also have a partial lunar eclipse, so I thought I would just give you some of the lowdown and the basics of what you can potentially prepare yourself for. So if that sounds good to you, but before we get right into the video, I would just welcome you and let you know how much I appreciate you connecting with me here. Consider subscribing if you are looking for intentionally based videos. We usually chat here about 2 to 3 times a week, and we talk about spirituality and spiritual practices. We talk about the moon, obviously. We chat about zero waste and how we can really live a more consciously driven life. So if that sounds good, hit the subscribe button. And in the meanwhile, let's get right into the video of what you really need to know for this full moon. All right, so as we're entering in the full moon in July, we're also having a partial lunar eclipse, or basically when the sun, the earth, and the moon, they sort of align, and then the earth's shadow is being reflected onto the moon. And it's also known as the buck moon. And it's called the buck moon because usually by this point in, like back in the day, usually around this time, the buck would have all of their antlers completely fully developed. We're gonna leave the bucks alone and we're not gonna harm their antlers. Anyway, in case, you're looking for a fun fact. When we're talking about full moons, you probably already know, and especially if you're following the lunar cycles, then this is going to be like zero surprise to you, that whenever you're moving with the cycles of the moon, then the energy usually is the strongest at the full moon. And I will briefly touch on like how you can kind of rock with this. We're going to be talking about astronomy and astrology. Now, I'm not an astrologer, so as I'm kind of learning, I figure I will just kind of share what I learned and how that's all working out. With lunar eclipses, what you need to know is that usually it is sort of like you're taking the full moon and then you turn up the volume on it. It becomes a lot more obvious, things become a lot more visible to you and a lot more just in your face of not only what needs to be released, but also like which direction you're moving into. So that's sort of what we're going to be talking about today. It's a powerful time for you to really use this energy, and be careful because when you're using this energy, you really want to use this energy in your favor so that you actually end up working with it and you release what you really need to release, instead of going against that current. And if you don't release anything, then you will probably find that a lot of those cycles, a lot of those negative behavior patterns or people or belief systems that are really like you've outgrown them, they will start to create a lot of chaos and a lot of drama in your life. And so this is sort of where you really want to be careful about how you use and how you harvest the energies of the moon. The best case scenario is that you're working with this energy rather than going against it. And just understand that where you are today, with all of the growth that you have done, you've come so far and you want to honor that and you want to move in the direction of expansion rather than just staying stuck and keep repeating the same old patterns that you had in the past. That's not really what we're here to do. Obviously, if you don't, then you're gonna see drama and chaos, and we really don't want that. Moon is entered into Capricorn, and then on opposite of that, we have the sun in Cancer. What does that mean? You're going to really see things for who and what they are. Things will become really obvious, really evident. You're going to be able to see the people that are around you exactly for who they are, instead of who you project them to be or who you think that they should be like. I know that I have done this in the past a lot, where I would sort of either upplay or downplay certain people in my life of how they truly are, instead of just seeing the behavior and seeing their energy for exactly what they're at, and then just honoring that for what it is, instead of wishing and hoping that it was something else. So you're probably going to be seeing a lot more of that right now. The other thing that is really evident is that this time you might find that you really want to retreat and you really want to go within and you want to sort of hide out, you take more time to rest, you want to sleep more. Perhaps you want to do more yoga, more spiritual practices. Maybe you want to retreat back to your spiritual practices, like your rituals. This would be a perfect time to do that, by the way. And really, I think that this time is just honor whatever comes up for you, and it's going to be something different for each of us. So I think the biggest thing is for you to just really try to honor where your body's at, where your heart is at, and really take a look of what is becoming really obvious that you need to let go of this, because it's so in the past and you have walked away from it like a long time ago energetically. Now it's time to actually physically release it. So whether you end up sitting down and journaling, or you take longer naps, or you just take extra rest and really just dive deeper into where you are energetically, I think is going to be really beneficial for you. Look at what you reject and see how you can integrate it. Look at what's coming up for you, how much resistance is coming up around the things that are around you, and see if you're able to rock with that energy. It's really about observing really what's around you and what are some of the behaviors, what are the things that are really triggering you, and what is something that is current for you right now, and what is something that has been, you're being triggered from past pains. And at this point, I would recommend probably journaling on it and see, even if you're just free writing, and really just allowing whatever needs to come up so that you can release them. I have been finding, me personally, that in the past few days, and especially in the past maybe 2-3 weeks, certain things would happen, positive things, like nothing bad would happen, but certain things would happen, and then I would have like a memory that would just come right back up from my childhood, and I would get so triggered because I would go back to that place of how I felt when I was a kid in that similar situation. Like it could be like me just driving around and enjoying a sunny day, but then I would remember how my summers were as a kid and how certain people made me feel, and I would literally relive certain pains from my childhood. And the only thing that you can do at this point is just allow it to move through you. Pay attention to what actually came up. Don't so much question of why it came up right now, because everything has its timing. Like it's all in divine timing. It's coming up when you are in a space and in a mental space where you can really deal with it. And I think that that's so important, that we really give ourselves that level of self-love and self-respect, where we allow certain things to move through us without judgment, without really getting angry that it's coming up or that we are not evolved enough. I think that that needs to kind of stop. The other thing that I have noticed, and maybe you have noticed it too, especially if you're a mama, that I'm starting to see not only glimpses of how my childhood was, but I'm also starting to see scenarios sort of play out for me of how it can be. Like, what does it look like to be more evolved and more mindful as a parent, more mindful as a business owner, more mindful of, like, what does that really look like right now? And when I'm seeing glimpses of like just and I'm also seeing not only like what it can look like for me, but I'm also there emotionally as well, that I can physically feel it, and it feels so much more expansive in my own body. And maybe you have experienced this too, and I think that a lot of that has to do with the energies around us right now and the energies with the moon, that it's a lot more powerful. So please take some time, pay attention to that, and honor where you're at. Don't try to push through just so that you can be more evolved, because really, like, there isn't like an end destination. Like, there isn't like, well, you nailed this one. Yep, you nailed this moon cycle. Good on you, girl. I don't think it's really about that. I think that it's more just honoring where the cycles of the moon are right now, and then really shifting and moving and flowing with Mother Nature, rather than, you know, like asking ourselves and questioning and fighting against that current of that rhythm, that natural rhythm of nature. The time frame of, so with astrology, it kind of goes through in a couple of hours. It's very relatively fast, versus astrology that will basically, all of the shifts and all of the changes, a lot of them with the full moon that we're experiencing right now, according to Chani Nicholas, if you don't follow her, you definitely should, but I will just leave her Instagram and her website in the description. According to her, a lot of what we're experiencing energetically with the full moon right now has been planted in the new moon in January. So a lot of these things will take months and months and months, like whatever plants you have seeded in January, a lot of it you may find that it's not going to be happening with like each moon cycle. So maybe you have set intentions in the beginning of this month that may not come to fully fruition until like 6 months to a year from now. And by the way, that's okay. So I don't want you to feel like that sense of rush, but I just want you to understand that whenever we have either a partial or a full lunar eclipse, the energies become a lot stronger and you have the ability to really release much faster and really rock with that energy a little bit more. That's all I got. I would love to know, by the way, couple of things. I would love to know how I almost said how you're celebrating this full moon. Like, yeah, let's celebrate. I bought flags and a barbecue. I would love to know what you're planning on doing for this full moon. If you are planning on doing a ritual or not, I would be very curious to find out. Tonight, for myself, I think that I'm just going to go to my yoga practice, and I think that I will go through a meditation and a journaling session. I'm not doing a massive release that I usually do with full moons. I really want to take more time to tune inwards, but I've also like noticed a lot of the shifts that have already been like prepping me to release, you know. And a lot of it is, I don't know if you guys feel this way too, but a lot of it has been more attached and related to just things that happened in the past, like so long ago, but it's still a wound that I personally have that constantly kind of comes up. And it doesn't always come up in like one lump sum, like here's all of childhood trauma. And I don't think that it's really childhood trauma. I think that it's just like certain blocks. I think that both in spiritual practices and whenever you're following moon cycles, it can be so easy to just mistake that like you need to sort of deal with everything all at once. And the more I learn about how astrology affects us and how we can be really impacted by the moon, the more I'm sort of understanding that it has like such a beautiful rhythm and it's ever so changing, and each of us will be impacted in a different way. But I think that if we learn to just create that space where we can really tune inwards, usually our bodies, and like usually from within, you can always get the answers that you're looking for, that true insight that you're really seeking without really having anyone else guide you through. I do think though that it helps when you have like a supportive tribe around you that are like-minded and that can support you along that journey and create that safe space for you. But I think a lot of this is inner work, and I'm finding that like with lunar cycles and with astrology, to me it's just ever so fascinating because it changes all the time and it can really bring such crazy insight into who we are as beings. So anyway, enough rambling. That's all I wanted to share with you guys. Let me know what's coming up for you in this lunar cycle. By the way, like if you are getting like insights about being more conscious as a parent and how you are relating to your children, or if you've seen like flashbacks from your childhood, I would love to know, mainly so that I know that I'm not the only one who's feeling that energetic shift. It would be quite interesting to kind of connect with you guys and chat about that some more. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope that you have enjoyed this video. If you did, you already know what to do. You can give me a thumbs up, you can subscribe to the channel, you can hit the notification bell so then you don't miss another video. And in the meanwhile, and just keep seeking, you guys, because you're just so much more powerful than you think. And I will see you again in my next video. Bye.